Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2024 Annual Congregational Meeting of St. Paul Lutheran Church. We are live on YouTube, so everybody be in your best behavior. Watch your language. I'll try to do the same. Also, if anybody's making a motion, we'll have several motions to do. Please come to a microphone for the motion. Make your motions. And for seconds, Gary can yell them out like he always does. No problem, right? Yeah, so he's ready. He's always ready for a second. So I'll call the motion to order, and Pastor Whitener will lead us in devotion, opening devotion.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you have called us to labor in your vineyard, and without you we can do nothing. Grant your gracious presence at this meeting this afternoon, that what we do will build up your whole church. Let your Holy Spirit govern and direct us, that we may consult together peacefully, pleasing you with all that we say and do. Through Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Dan. In order for any business we transact to be official, we need to have a quorum that is 10% of our confirmed membership. Right now, we presently have 270 confirmed members according to the ELCA. So we need 27 people present. We have, it looks like close to 40 people, so we met that requirement. This we also give everybody 2 weeks notice. We gave much more than that, so everybody should be aware of that. We are on YouTube. Those people get watched, but they don't get the count necessarily as being present, but we should be ready to go. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the annual report in the back. They were also posted in the poem as well. We'll have, I mentioned about baskets, free will offering. Is there a basket in the back for free will offering for the luncheon? I didn't notice, okay. Was there a basket for collection back there? Okay, good, okay, good. We'll need a couple of tellers to count the paper ballot, so a couple of volunteers for that. Neil, do you want to do that? One of those? Be a teller? Second teller? Julie? Okay. Julie and Neil will be our tellers. So I have a couple baskets and ballots here. Again, all motions, please make them at the microphones. All right, we're ready to go. The first 9 pages are really last year's report. So that was already approved, presented last year, approved by the Congregational Council, and made available to all of you at your discretion. I don't know if anybody took advantage of that or not, but it was posted, it was hanging up in the narthex for a while and available for copies. This year we have them. So moving on to page 10, we have attendance. This is a little more involved than the attendance table in the previous years. Separated early and late services, include the YouTube information as well. One thing I should mention is the YouTube counts are probably conservative because we don't know if one person is watching or if it's a family. I think Dan Egan mentioned when he sits, all 4 of them watch. So it's one view, but it's 4 people. So YouTube counts are probably a little understated for what the reality is. We have seen a decline in attendance since pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, we were at about 150 people live. Pre-COVID, 102 is the average now. Post-COVID, but another 18 plus in YouTube. So we're kind of holding our own pretty much. One concern might be that Sunday school attendance is down by quite a bit from pre-COVID. But again, we didn't have any VBS, which is another issue too. But it'll be coming this year. A lot of changes this year will be coming. Make that improve that. So we had a couple of exceptional months for attendance. October, something really big happened in October. What was it happened in October that made it so large? We had 222 people in church on Sunday, Pastor E's last day, which is pretty impressive. We also, whoever decided to have the youth pageant on a service on Sunday was an awesome idea because that was a huge, 124 people showed up. It was a great day, so that was good. So we should do that again. In fact, let's have the kids there every Sunday. Make me better. So. All right, moving along. Any questions about attendance? What I had to do this, I actually went back through our entire library of recordings to look back at the YouTube total for the week is people who watched the week after service. And that was the cutoff point. So I went back to all of our videos, looked through them, and checked the analytics and recorded how many people watched it within a week. That's where that number comes from. So, all right. Page 11 is the pastoral acts. Usually Pastor Egan presented this. This is, I think I mentioned, kind of the heartbeat of the congregation. It's we have things, baptisms, first communions, new members, confirmation. These are all people who are coming into church. So even though people leave church, which happens routinely, people are still coming in, which is a good sign. So that's a very, very positive thing. So we had, in this case, we had 3 baptisms last year. We already had at least 1 this year. 7 communicants. Only 1 confirmation, but that was a challenging year because Pastor Egan was leaving, so that'll be fine. All right, moving along, we have the annual report of the pastor. This is Pastor Egan's report. There is 1 correction to make. Notice it mentions that Pastor Peter Folke and Dale Sullivan were vice pastors. Only Peter Folke was a vice pastor. Dale Sullivan was strictly a supply. So that's a minor change. Beyond that, Jim had left a very detailed report, a very nicely written report. He's not here to ask any questions, so. So I guess in that case, our next report would be from Pastor Whitener, has a brief report. Pastor Dan was only here for a month, but it's been a busy month, right, Dan? Hit the ground running. So you want to come to a microphone, or do you have a mic?
Just a couple remarks regarding my report. Several are thank yous. As I'd already thanked the Christian Fellowship Committee for their work with our lunch today, so thank you very much for all the work that went into that. The second thing is I want to thank our staff, Laura, Ayeska, and Christian. There you are. There you are. Okay. Laura's not here, but you need to be thankful to your staff and all the other people that help out as well, our AV guys, but I really appreciate all the work that our staff has done in welcoming me to the congregation. Some days Laura and I probably have too good of a time, but I've gotten to the point where I can already give it back to her, so that's good. And Christian and I now work together mutually for worship planning for the upcoming liturgical seasons. And Ayeska has been there from the get-go, even before I even arrived, with arranging all of those that helped out to get my office squared away. So I want to thank you for all that you've done to welcome me here. All of the committees, I can't believe that I've been here 2 months now and that I know as much as I do. And that's a credit to all of our committee chairs who have worked with me hand in hand to catch me up on the different ministries. And I've almost made it around to most of the main committees, but they've been very conscientious about getting reports to me, helping me to understand the language and the rhythms of the different committees. But your committee structure for someone who's coming in fresh is really amazing with the number of people that work with that, and we hope we can expand that. So I want to thank all of the committee chairs who have worked with me and the people on the different ministry groups. It's been a big help to me to understand how things are happening. So thank you. Finally, with my thank yous this afternoon, I want to thank Stan. We owe Stan a debt of gratitude. I had the initial conversations as this was becoming a more probable thing that I would be coming to serve here as your interim pastor, and Stan is so methodical and helpful and predictable and faithful. And so I think we all owe him an ovation of thanks for all that
he... Smoke and mirrors.
We know that's not true. I also want to thank Sharon for all of her work with onboarding me with all of the different administrative, financial, all the HR type stuff. So thank you very much, Sharon, for all of your help with that. Just a couple high points about my report. It's not very lengthy. The first thing is that I'll be serving as your pastor. I will be doing all the things that a pastor does, hands down, as much as I can do, how I can best lead the congregation spiritually during this period of time. It's a myth to think that this is a seamless transition, because that would discount the fact that there's a seam that was left by someone who had served here 45 years. And so I get that. And your pastor, dear Pastor Jim Egan, has been a friend of mine for 30 years. And one of the things that's made it easier for us and for me in these 2 months is the fact that I meet with him regularly and have worked hand in hand with him to ensure that as many bases are covered as possible. So I want to thank him for being such a great resource and a source of wisdom. The second thing is I'm here to be an appreciative inquirer. I'm here to affirm the gifts that are here, the ones that are known and unknown, and to help you appreciate what those are. And so that's a part of my investigatory work here, is to help you to appreciate what the gifts are that you actually do share as a congregation. That's the second element. The third element is I'm here to be Socrates. I'm here to ask questions, particularly as it has to do with the congregation here, how you are planted here, what is the culture that surrounds this congregation, what does the demography of the congregation look like, what does the demography look like with the zip codes that the congregation serves, what are the things on the horizon, the needs of the people in the community and the congregation that we need to be sensitive to, how can we grow as disciples in Christ, and how do we provide programs that help people to grow in this crazy time in which we live, in which there's a ton of distractions and a lot of competing narratives. So that's another thing. The final piece, my work with you will be to do some heavy lifting with some of the governance pieces. One is the Constitution needs serious updating. There's a couple big pieces that church-wide provides that need to be put in place. So that will need some work and attention. And the second one, which you'll probably notice, is that we all have a challenge with these days, is to put together an evangelism committee. And so if there is any person here in this room today who feels called in the welcome and witness ministry of the congregation, if God is touching you and speaking to you, and somebody else in the congregation is speaking to you and saying, you have a knack for that, for hospitality, for communication beyond the walls of the congregation, let me know, because that will be one of the pieces that we'll be working on forthrightly following this meeting. So those are a couple points, but it's not an easy day and age for us to do evangelism ministries. There's 100 rationalizations for why we shouldn't do it. And I have 100 different responses to those rationalizations. And one is that we Lutherans have a precious heritage of the grace of God and the love that's shared to us through Jesus Christ. and we need to get the word out and the news out in a way that suits us as individual people, that's natural for us, that is a way in which we can share our faith in a way that's inviting, that's infectious. So that would be an area that we would be working on. So, any questions, or probably taking too much time?
No, that's fine. Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, Dan, thank you.
All right.
My report is on page 16. We were warned by Bishop Bartholomew really earlier last year that the departure of a pastor, especially a long-standing pastor like Pastor Egan, often can be catastrophic for a church. Have be a steep declines in attendance and giving. We didn't see that. And that's a tribute to a lot of people, including the fact that all of you who are here today and have been coming, every Sunday, which is fantastic. Our lay leaders really stepped up to cover the void, the period of time, without including I know Carolyn and Diane, I think, helped with Laura, who was, imagine for poor Laura, 20 years next to Jim Egan, and now all of a sudden, poof, he's gone. And there was no one to replace him. She was by herself for 2 months. Very challenging. Then fortunately, Dan came in and said it had to hit the ground running. Leadership did a great job. The committees did a great job keeping things going. And all of you still remained faithful and generous. We can't do any better than that. Now, in addition, we had tremendous support from the Synod office. About 25% of the churches in the Synod do not have full-time pastors. They're probably supply. 25%, that's a lot of churches are really hurting for people. We immediately got supply pastors right away for the month. We covered a month and a half of supply pastor right away, including our neighbors down the street, Prince of Peace. And we also have Dan, who came in as interim pastor after only a month. Very, very fortunate to get, not just to have interim, to get a pastor like Dan with all his experience. You couldn't have had a better choice. I know when Jim Egan found out it was Dan, he was thrilled. And I think it'll be an exciting time for St. Paul the next couple of years, as with Dan's assistance to lead us forward into, it'll be a whole new time period, a new time and a new society, change society. So good, so thank you. As I mentioned, I did wonder about, we have seen a loss of attendance. I did look back at pre-COVID attendance, for example, and it's been pretty significant. We were at 150 people before COVID, and now we're at 100. We looked 10 years ago, we were at 100, pushing 180. So that's happened. But the question is, what I would know is, why do people stop coming? And evidently the number one reason I found is it's a loss of its habit. You think about your life. You wake up in the morning at a certain time, you go to work at a certain time, and you come home at a certain time. Everything is structured. And going to church is part of that pattern. It's also a habit. COVID destroyed the habit. So how do you get that habit back? It's almost like retraining after a long illness to get back in shape again. So one of our challenges will be to get back in shape and restore those habits. And that has been the number one reason. I mean, people move, that happens. Things change. Kids grow up, go to college. Those happen routinely. And people come to replace those people. But the loss of habit is a really serious deterrent. And that's what we have to get back in the habit. So all of you have been in the habit, get people back in the habit too. So that'll be one of our challenges to that. So, okay, moving along then. Next we have Christian Ed. Christine?
Hi, everyone. I'm here to represent the Christian Education Committee. I'd like to thank all the members of the committee for their hard work throughout the year. I'd especially like to thank all the Sunday school teachers who give up their time every Sunday throughout the school year for making these opportunities for the children and adults of our congregation to learn more about our faith, to learn more about the Bible, and to learn more about our church possible. Although there has been a slight drop in our weekly attendance at Sunday school, we continue to run a robust program, and we look forward to ways to encourage new members and to increase the participation of young families in our programs. Looking over the report, I'll just be jumping quite a bit, but I'll stay sequential, so that might make it easier to follow. We have a tentative date for confirmation, which is coming up at Pentecost. We're hoping to have confirmation this year for 7 students on May 19th. A few additional thanks are in order. Brittany Thurkoff took over the cradle role from Sue Westerberg. In that role, Brittany has sent out baptismal anniversary cards to children who are too young to be enrolled in Sunday school. So they get a little message from us here at the church wishing them a happy baptismal anniversary. At this time, we don't have current plans for a VBS in 2024, but we're all looking forward to the possibility of bringing it back in the future. I'd like to thank the music staff and volunteers. Elise Daner has revived the Angel Choir, working with children up to grades 3, and they've performed for us here in the sanctuary several times last year. A brand new music group is in the process of being formed, having had just their first rehearsal or introduction last week. Our music minister, Christian, is working with children in grades 4 through 6 to create a chimes choir. Chimes is similar to bells, and so if you can imagine adults in bell choir, a junior version of that might be children in chimes choir. Looking ahead a little bit, we are looking to host a Bible study beginning in April. Our Holy Week workshop this year will be on Palm Sunday again, and that we're looking to change so that rather than being in the late afternoon, it will be during the education hour in between services. Classes will be suspended for that day so that everyone can participate in the Holy Week workshop on Palm Sunday. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the Christmas Pageant Subcommittee for putting on a tremendous performance. Over 50 members of the congregation were involved in either preparation or performing, and it was a tremendous success by all accounts. Right now, we are in flux in terms of the library. We've brought this up at a recent meeting. We're charged with redefining the role and purpose of the library. That's something that you can look forward to hearing more about as we move forward. And if anyone is interested in being a part of that discussion, please approach me or one of the other committee members in regards to that. In fact, if you are interested in taking on a more active role, looking for service to the church, and think the education committee might be for you, we welcome you as well. I'd like to offer our thanks to Pastor Dan, to our council, to Laura, to Ayaska, and to everyone who has offered us their ongoing support in ways both big and small. We are very grateful. And should you have any questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them at this time. If any questions arise, please catch me at coffee hour, or you can find me in the directory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next committee is Christian Fellowship. Our chairs are Kathy and Susan. Looks like Kathy's going to be giving the report.
Hello. I'm Kathy Green. I co-chair the Christian Fellowship Committee with Susan Engelberg. I'd like to thank all our committee members because we do a lot of things and couldn't do it all without some help. It's the goal of the Christian Fellowship Committee to facilitate opportunities and activities for members of the congregation that bring us closer together and strengthen our relationship with one another. And because we're Lutheran, that always seems to involve food. So, most of our activities are food related. Basically, this past year, our committee has resumed coffee hour back to the pre-pandemic state. We have organized adult dinners and we plan special events. We also hosted a combination service fellowship event with social ministry, a Ukraine benefit, which we're hoping to do also again this year. We had hosted the reception on Easter Sunday, and we also coordinated a separate committee for Pastor Egan's retirement. So we planned the party after and the dinner that night. We had a special coffee hour to welcome Pastor Dan when he arrived, and we also were responsible for the Christmas brunch. Another thing I'd like to say is we're kind of revamping our coffee hour instructions so that if you would like to sign up for coffee hour, we will be making the coffee, so it should be pretty simple for everybody to just kind of come and bring desserts, and we'll have the coffee ready. A lot of people get nervous about the coffee, so the coffee will be ready. And so once you sign up, also we're going to be sending out an email to everyone to let them know what the instructions are. So it should be a little more simple. And also, if anyone else is interested in joining our committee, we're always happy to have more help. I'd also like to thank Gay Egan, even though she's not here, maybe she's watching, for all her years of service on the committee. And also Pastor Egan, because he always used to make the coffee. Him and Gay used to make the coffee.
He turned the pots on.
We had to figure out who was going to make the coffee. So I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Next is a Finance Committee report. Karen Klingeman is the chair, but she's home with a sick child. So I don't know whether Sharon wanted to say anything about that, or do we need to say anything at all? Pardon? Okay, all right. One thing she notes is we do have a surplus here. Will be explained a little later on. A pretty large surplus. It's mostly explained by the fact that we had 2 months without Jim Egan's salary, and we also had a lot more giving than we expected. We exceeded our budget for giving, so this is all positive things. So it'll be more later discussed when we get to the finance report. So, all right, moving along then. Next we have the Memorial Garden and the Garden Trust. Tom Vandesand.
Afternoon all. On behalf of the trustees, I want to thank the congregation for your offerings to the Memorial Garden on Mother's Day, Father's Day, and All Saints Day, as well as other offerings made throughout the year. I want to thank this year's trustees, Sharon Lachard, who's our bookkeeper, Diane Cox, Dan Egan, Lori Hunter, Kathy Smith-Gall, and Pastor Egan. In the report, you'll see the activities. There were 3 internments this year: Ruth Reed, Norman Riley, and William Riley. One of the good things that's happened is we've got a relationship with W&E Bound to get the plaques directly from them. They're not a manufacturer, they send them out, but they've been in this business for a long period of time. The plaques are coming back consistently in quality, shape, size. So, and they're right in Freehold. That's where we got the plaque that's by the entrance door. So that's really worked out well. I go there personally and pick things up and drop them off. All the plaques for this year are mounted. Jim Besaw's plaque is also mounted, although he's not interred yet. Just a couple things on the plantings. The azaleas, I don't know if you noticed, closest to the door in the old sanctuary were removed and replaced late in the fall. They should come back, or bloom in fine this spring. We'll have to see. But there is no issue with planting very late in the season. I've been kind of monitoring what the deer have been doing this year. It doesn't seem, they haven't beat it up as in years past. And just lastly, the last line of the report there, this was started way back, by Pastor Egan, and it's become a huge ministry within our church. So I just want to thank him for that inspiration and idea way back then, and we brought it to what it is now. If there is no questions, that would conclude my report.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Next, we have the Minister of Music, Christian.
Good morning, everybody.
Or good afternoon.
Or is it afternoon now? Lost track. Well, this is a big year. With Pastor Egan's retirement, we were able to put on a number of special events. His send-off service was large choirs, and we also had a special concert for him. Before that, we continued on with the senior choirs, with the bell choir, and it was already alluded to. We have a new group. We have a children's chime choir, and I'm rehearsing with them for about 15 minutes every Sunday at the start of Sunday school, from about 9:45 to 10. And so looking forward to involving them and playing as part of the service at some point in the future. And maybe one day some of them could go on to play in the bell choir too, which would be very exciting. Maria and Sarah and Justine, their friend, put on a wonderful concert in June here, and we plan on doing more of those concerts here in the future. I have plans to perhaps do a concert in the spring, a joint concert with Prince of Peace Lutheran with their choir there. So we're going to work out the details with that and see exactly how we can put that together. But that's something definitely to look forward to. I've been composing a piece in 6 movements for each liturgical season of the church year. So far, 2 of those you've heard, and the 3rd one will be performed, sung next Sunday. And I believe that's everything. Everything else is on page 23. Is there any questions for me? Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Christian, thank you. Next, the property report, Neil Klingeman.
Good afternoon. I wanted to first off thank Pastor Egan, because I don't know if you knew it, but he was that guy that would get our property committee and he'd go out and say, we need to take a walk around the building. We need to look over here, this tree. We need to look over here at the shed. There's a shingle missing. He would always keep us informed of everything going on around here. And that would give us a chance to fix those items and take care of things. On our committee is Stan. Stan actually passed, he was the past property chairman back in 16, and 15 passed it to me and I became the property chairman. Glenn's on the committee, Phil and George. So we have a bunch of us, and we meet every month, and we try to look at the church, what's going on, what needs to be done, what do we need to do for the future. It's just like your home. Everything, you get up in the morning, you wake up, all of a sudden you got a leak over here. Where'd it come from? The light doesn't work. All those things go on here all the time. One of the great things, when Iesca came on, she's been fantastic of cleaning the church and taking care of things. But also I guess maybe Pastor Egan passed it down to her, but she's very good about letting us know areas of the church where we're having a problem so we can correct things before they become a bigger problem. So this year's been some challenges. We came in one day and all of a sudden our parking lot is collapsing at one of the drains. Things like that happen. Air conditioning, we had lost half the air conditioning in the church, got it fixed. All these kind of things go on. So we're always looking at those things and working on them and planning for the future of what we need to do. And some things, a lot are in the church. The church, this building is 2009. So you think about it, how many years it is. We're seeing things that are obsolete, things that are failing, that we're having to tackle. The other part of the church, 35 years old. You can imagine with that 35-year-old house, all the things going on. So we're working on those things. We have some plans for the coming year. And I really wanted to thank the guys on the committee and other people around here that step in or come in and help us occasionally. So thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Next, we have social ministry. The chairs are Karen Lutzer and Laurie Hunter. And Karen's going to do the report. Longest report in the report, by the way. 3 pages. But one of our most important committees, too.
Sorry, Christian, you're too tall. Okay. First of all, this comes with a lot of thank yous as well. But I shouldn't be the only person up here. Gay Egan should be here because she did social ministry for 5 years up until October of this last year. And Lori Hunter is the co-chair, and she has been co-chair for the last 2 years, but she had a family commitment this weekend. So on behalf of those two, I'm here. So I'd like to recognize the Social Ministry Committee, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So anybody on social ministry who's here, stand up and we'll, okay. We have Elise, Karen Galley, Kathy, Ken, and Ayaska. Am I missing anybody? No. Okay. Thank you. We also have, oh, Diane, you're supposed to stand up too. Diane Erga. Okay. We're missing Elvira and Judy Tabasco. Elvira Diefenbach and Judy Tabasco. But these are people who have given up, they've shared their ideas and their time and talent. We're helping area churches, nonprofit agencies, charities, who give aid to many people, seniors, adults, children, all those people who might be food insecure, homeless, abused, in need of education, or who have experienced disasters. We also work with national and worldwide Lutheran agencies to help our neighbors who are far away, such as personal care kits for Ukraine that Kathy alluded to with the Fellowship Committee. But we, the committee, want to thank you, all the members, everybody who's watching, everybody who comes to church, who may not be able to come to church, who we're thankful for shopping, for donating products and money, for helping any way you can to help to minister to others. And without your generous donations, we wouldn't be able to do all that needs to be done. I also want to thank an adjunct member of our committee, and that's Phil Green, because he has a lot of social activities that come under a social ministry type committee that he does on his own, has developed on his own. And for instance, the task Thanksgiving at the Methodist Church. So I want to thank Phil for that too. I'm not going to go over all our projects. Happy faces, smiley faces, because they're listed in the report. But I do have a couple of notes. One is that thanks to members of the committee, members not on the committee, but who are Thrivent members, we're able to get money for each of our projects that we have. So over last year, we were able to add $2,000 in getting products, services, etc., for the people in need for the last year. So if you are a Thrivent member and you haven't done anything for social ministry yet, come see me. You don't have to do much, but it'll help us in our ministry. And as you know, 2024 presented us with a major challenge. The challenge was, how could we help busloads of migrants being dropped off at the Trenton train station in the middle of the night who had no idea where they were and had no place to go? But through St. Bart's Lutheran Church in Trenton, Pastor Cussman asked us for gathering warm clothing, canned foods with Pop-Tops, and protein-based food that would last. That request came on January 4th, and by Sunday, January 7th, when we came to church, the narthex was filled with things. The committee loaded 4 cars and 1 truck with clothing and food and drove it down to St. Bart's. And that was only 4 days' notice. So the congregation deserves a round of applause for doing everything that they could with that. So please. I'll quote Pastor Cussman from St. Bart's. "You at St. Paul's are rock stars." And all I can say is that this is the St. Paul at work in the community, sharing God's love to those who need it. Thank you very much for all your help throughout the year. Any questions? Ken?
I have a question. What's the status of the buses in Trenton? Are they still coming in?
They started
But
December...
repeat that, please, because we've got
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. What's the status of the buses and people coming in now? As far as we know, they started on December 30th, 2 to 3 bus loads every night until it was this past week. Phil has a little bit more knowledge of that.
When I was there,
Phil,
come up to the mic.
Phil, come to the mic, if you would, please.
I've been going twice a week, and it seems like we got so prepared, they have now diverted them to other locations.
Oh.
Diverting the people that are coming up on the buses to other locations because we've been prepared. And I think their goal is to cause as much controversy as possible. And it's sad, but that's what's going on. So, any questions?
As far as we know, there's still a need because there are people still in the area. There's still people, we don't know what the mayor has done as far as getting any long-term housing or anything like that, but everybody's kind of brushing it off. It's Trenton's problem, Trenton's problem. So we'll get any updates that we can as soon as Pastor Cussman knows them too. But they still are coming. There's an increase in the food pantry, so we know that they are coming to the food pantry. Sometimes we just don't know where they're located. They could still be at the train station. Nancy? Will there be upcoming blood drives? Will there be upcoming blood drives? Not here at St. Paul. We decided not to do it simply because we have a lot fewer members who are involved in giving blood these days. Sort of aged out and haven't been able to get new people. But right now the Elks Club on Hickory Corner has sort of taken over our spring and our fall time periods. So what we're doing is we're promoting the other blood drives in the area. And you can always give blood at the blood center on Alexander Road too. They have lots of open appointments. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I have 2 advertisements. Okay, keep the rice coming because that's a staple for all the people we're serving now. And the Super Bowl is next week, you've heard. So please bring those soup cans wrapped with dollars or whatever you want to give. And we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. This committee is one of our most important committees because it's really true to the gospel. In Matthew talks about, I was hungry, you gave me food, thirsty, you gave me a drink, a stranger you welcomed me. It's what they do. All right, moving along, Stewards Committee, Skip.
So the Stewardship Committee has pretty much followed the same pattern we've had over the years in terms of the kinds of campaigns, different content and so forth in the campaigns. But this year we felt was particularly important to stress the fact that we're at a transition. We're at a turning point in the career or in the congregation with the pastor leaving. You got to remember, we had, Pastor Egan was here for 45 years. That's over half of our 85 plus years, I think it is, of our history here as a congregation. So we really wanted to be, we were concerned, quite honestly. So we actually did more than we usually do in terms of communication, longer length of time that we went through, and we think it paid off. We were also, of course, fighting, the passing of COVID, and we've seen some drop off in members and in attendance, as we've heard. But despite the fact that we were here to we were looking to, try to increase as much as we could. We pretty much broke even in terms of the pledges from the year before. So if you look at the report, we were at 72 pledges this year versus 74 last year. And that's been, kind of a steady decline. If you go back to as far as 2019, we were at 94. So we still have work to do, but from a dollar point of view, we did a fairly good job. We were only down by 0.2%, despite the fact that we lost 2 pledges. And even though we were down in terms of numbers, and the total only went down, we took at the total value of all the pledges, only went down by roughly $700, actually a little less than $700. And the average went up, all right? So I would say that, from a financial point of view, it was a success, but we can't stand on our laurels. We've got to continue to build towards that. And I would like to see us, really get some more activity or more participation in the committee. We've had a very loyal committee. They're all here, sitting here today. I'm looking at Ken Branson here. Stan, of course, was on the committee. Walter Engelbert has been on the committee. We've all been on this committee for a long time. Pastor Egan was on the committee every year in the past, and so we've got to be thinking ahead, because we can't just stay even. I think we've got to start moving ahead, and part of that, quite frankly, comes to looking at the evangelism issue that you brought up, Pastor Dan. And I think that that's something that we really need to focus on. It's been, quite honestly, a weak point of our congregation over years. We've had attempts at building evangelism through a committee. It just hasn't happened. But I think we need to do something in that area. And I'll be the first to volunteer for your committee. So, well, maybe not your committee, but you can put my name down in there. Because I think that's going to lead towards increased giving. And it's not just about money, but we do need to support the congregation financially, right? In looking at people to thank, obviously the committee members that I just mentioned, they've been very loyal, not just the last couple of years. I think we've been around as a group for what, 5, 6, 7 years?
If not more, yeah. Yeah, maybe more than that.
So I do want to appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But what I would like to see, as I said, some more fresh blood in there. And I think we'll get some of that from you, Pastor, too. So in addition to thanking the committee members, which are obviously important, we put a lot of time, mostly just in the fall, quite frankly. But in addition to those, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that contribute. One of the biggest contributors, quite frankly, is our church secretary, because we're writing all these letters and we're need somebody to send them all out and run the letters off and copy them and all that kind of stuff. All that behind the scenes stuff is being handled by our church secretary, Laura. And so we're very appreciative of that. And there are other people who have helped. Melanie, where are you? I saw you. Oh, right in front of me. Melanie's come in and helped to stuff letters and so forth. Sharon has been, you've been, in essence, worked with us, because I'm always calling you and asking you about the numbers, where do we stand, and so forth. So there are a lot of other people behind the scenes that we need to thank. But I go back to saying we could use some help as, on the committee itself. And it's quite frankly, it's a fun committee to be on because we can be very creative. We're always looking for new ideas each year. So if you're interested, let me know. And the last thanks will go to the congregation. Without the congregation, sticking to, pledging as they have, even though we've got smaller, as many churches have, and our numbers are flattening out in terms of the number of pledges that we actually get, financially we're still in pretty good shape. All right. So any questions? Any volunteers? All right. Thank you.
Thanks. A couple comments. You look at the chart pledging in the middle of the page. You can see the COVID effect, 2022 and 2020, 2021. Those were some rough years. Also, we were paying the mortgage off in 2019. We paid it off for early 2020, about 2 months after COVID hit. So things worked out, some tremendous planning and a lot of luck. And you can see now we really have stabilized, which is a good sign too. Second thing is the cartoon at the bottom. That is not being considered at this point. But, we'll see. Next report is transition team. Paul Nyheiser.
Hello, hello. Well, to paraphrase Groucho Marx, I would never want to be part of a committee that doesn't exist. But I am. So transition team had our final meeting in April of 2023. And there was really no more use for us. We were formed in pandemic year of 2020, and our goal was to kind of navigate the church through that rough time and slowly rebuild the traditions and the things that we were used to. And I think we're pretty much there. We thought so earlier in the year, so we stopped convening. Thank you to all the members. They're all listed at the bottom of the report. It was a good committee to be on. There was a lot of good dialogue and a lot of thinking and a lot of give and take. It was really good, and I think we got us back to as good as we can be. So thanks again.
We met how many times, Paul? The committee met how many times the committee meet? Diane knows. 23? 18?
I think it was 20. I think it was 20.
There's a lot of meetings. Yeah.
Early in 2020 and 2021, we met very regularly. As we were needed less, we met less frequently. So
But we're navigating unknown territory. It was a challenging time, to say the least. So
it was definitely scary, and like I said in here, if something crazy like this happens again, at least we have a little bit of a blueprint. Hope it never does.
yeah. Good. Thanks, Paul. Next, worship music. Carolyn.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, this is a good place to give a worship and music report because this is where worship and music happens. And how observant are you? What is different now than from this morning? Paraments. The paraments are white in preparation for next Sunday,
Transfiguration.
Transfiguration Sunday. After the meeting, we have to change the banners. And if you think it's easy changing those banners, it is not. And thanks to Arthur Lynch and Gail, Arthur's been doing a fantastic job in changing these banners. It's unreal. And the banners get stored up there, and so it's not easy getting them down and up back again. But that's part of worship and music. Part of the worship and music committee, and we'll be doing it next Sunday because we have to prepare for Lent. So, anyway, I'd like to, you can see on the report the committee members, Diane Cox, Gary Grigg, Kathy Kudlak, Fred Newman, Charlie Repka, Jane Hassey Smith, and then our staff, Pastor Dan and our minister of music, Christian Humke. I thank them. They are a wonderful committee to work with, and they make my job a lot easier. And I thank Diane for recording the minutes all the time. So thank you all. And worship and music, you know, we prepare for services. Pastor Dan speaks the word of God. Christian Humke prepares our music with the choirs. And then we have our altar care people, lectors, greeters, ushers, tech team, and they all are an important part of ministry. And we couldn't put on a service without them. So Melanie McDonald, I thank you for altar care, and greeters, Sue Westerberg and Dana Jamet, ushers, Kathy Kudlak, the tech team, Dan Egan. They are the co-chairs, and they're the ones that pester you to volunteer, and I appreciate that very much. Our committee appreciates that. It's a lot of work. Some of the, we were working with the planning committee this year, planning for the future, and one of our top priorities is including music in Sunday school, and we started doing that last year with the Angel Choir. We brought back the Angel Choir with Elise Stainer's help. Thank you, Elise. And as you've heard this morning, we're hoping to get a chimes choir together, and that would be really wonderful, and hopefully that someday they would then start playing bells. And we need another person in the bell choir, because I want to retire. I've been trying to retire for 2 years and it hasn't quite worked out. So if you're interested in playing the bells, come on and join us and be a jingling. Then our other big concern, and something that we're working on this year, and we're starting a subcommittee, is hiring a nursery attendant. We've been working on this, and we really want to get it going. It's a good way to bring in new people, you know, if we have a nursery available. And so Diane Cox is going to head up that subcommittee, and we hope to have it going in September, when we start again in the fall. So that is our goal for this year. Everything else is there. I know it's a long report, but we had a lot going on this year. We had our bells refurbished. They hadn't been refurbished in, I don't know, 10, 14 years, and they really needed to be refurbished, so now they're in good shape. Any questions?
Okay, Carol, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have the Financial Secretary's report from Tom. Should mention, we have two financial officers. The Financial Secretary is responsible for the income side of the balance sheet. The Treasurer is for the expense side. The twain never meets. We're very careful to keep, and that's doesn't always happen in some churches. We're very transparent about responsibilities and who does what, and make sure there's no chance of conflict. So Tom is our Financial Secretary. He takes the income side, and well, it's really Glenn, and with the assistants, maybe I'm not sure who's the assistant here, Glenn and Sharon on the income side, expense side. So go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Both sides of the aisle. The report presented is a record of all income from contributing members and other sources for the year of 2023. I just really have one comment. It's all data that I do. It's data entry on my end. So I don't necessarily analyze what's going on. I just put it in, and that what you see is what's there. The Finance Committee can do the analyzing. But I want to comment, it's already been said 2 or 3 times. You can see it. The congregation's generosity is clearly shown in the report. I thank all the council members who served as tellers, Elise Dana for filling in my absence, and Sharon Lashard for checking my work. We do communicate together, mainly electronically. You know, we speak obviously, but electronically. So all these things are checked, and it's tight. I trust you'll find your giving statements to be in order. Please see me if you find anything to the contrary. They would have gone out the end of last week or a little earlier. And some, if you don't have an email address, are coming in the mail. If there are no questions, I would conclude my report.
Question over here?
Yes.
On the non-budgeted income, the third one down, dedicated worship item. Elaborate on it.
Tom, repeat the question, please, Tom.
Jeff has a question on the non-budgeted income dedicated worship item being $725. And it's a question for me because I don't recall what it was. I do. Okay. Sharon does.
Sharon, come on. Might as well stay up here, too.
Yeah. Stay there.
So during the year, we purchased new paraments. I think that might have been mentioned before. But the pulpit scarf was paid for by Pastor Egan as a gift to the congregation. So the $725 was the cost of the pulpit scarf, care of Pastor Egan.
Anything else? Just want to mention just one thing in the designated funds, non-budgeted income. We combined Ukraine, Palestine, and I think there was one other one during the year, into what's called just Lutheran World Relief now. So when you see it in the poem or the bulletin, it's just going to show up as that. Anything under disaster relief, ELCA, is domestic. That stays within the U.S. or its territories. Through the accounting system, I can add a comment, and the bookkeeper sees that comment and writes a check, or may write 2 checks, to the ELCA, and one will be for Ukraine, and the other will be, you know, whatever the other one is. But they are accounted for, so when you list them on your envelopes, it's being accounted for. If you have no designation on your envelope, I write no designation, so we don't question that I either forgot it or it wasn't there. And then that just goes to the ELCA, and they distribute it as they see fit. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Tom, thank you. Treasury report. I guess it's Glenn, but Sharon's at the ready if need be, right?
Okay, the treasurer's report is on pages 34, 35, 36, and 37 of your annual report. And I just want to let everyone know that I'm the messenger. The heavy lifting is done by our bookkeeper, Sharon Lashard, who we owe a great deal of thanks to as a congregation. She does the weekly writing of the checks. She prepares the monthly treasurer's report. She prepares the annual report. So we couldn't function without her. And again, I'm just a messenger as a non-accountant. I've learned a lot as a non-accountant along the way, but I am not one. Just a quick reference to pages 34 and 37 first. 34 at the top gives you an idea of where all our money is invested and is maintained outside these walls. The bottom part of page 34 is where that lump of money is designated within the church. So you'll see the 397,360 is up at the top, and it's also the same number at the bottom of how the outside investments are broken down. And the two largest and most active funds there on the bottom of page 34 are the member designated funds and the council designated funds near the bottom of that lower section. And those are broken down in more detail on page 37. So you'll see at the top the congregation funds and the council designated funds. So this is where, so to speak, all the action is for the non-budgeted income. This is where your contributions outside your budgeted giving go. Social ministry things, men's group, Head Start, you name it, it's in there. So a lot of the funds you'll see a zero on the left at the start of the year, and you'll see a zero on the right. That means we basically passed through a lot of money. Money that came in, went out to do some good outside these walls. There are some other funds that do have some balances at the end of the year for a purpose, but a lot of it is, you know, the money comes in, run it through the system, and then send it outside these walls to do some good. Now I'd like to turn your attention to pages 35 and 36, which is sort of the current year operating fund, which shows on our budgeted items for our budgeted income where that money was spent. So at the top of the page is just a couple lines that sort of summarize Tom's work as the financial secretary on having on the income side of things there. And as you can see, the same number as what Tom reported. Our budgeted income was $12,483 above the budget number. So our giving was $12,000 more than budgeted. So you look down some of the expenses that we've had for the year. A couple things to bring it to your attention. Pastor Egan, and again, this budget was established before Pastor Egan announced his retirement. So that has a little bit of an influence here on some of these numbers. And as you can see under staff, under pastor's salary, a number in parentheses means we have a surplus. So under the total for Pastor Egan, there's a surplus of $26,700. When Pastor Dan came on, and the for all the supply pastors, rather than intermingle that expense with Pastor Egan's, there was a separate line item created called vice pastor and interim pastor. And as you can see, there's no budget for that because we didn't know that there would be a need for that. So those costs for November and December are in that line item. So you'll see a deficit of $11,067 on that item. You can see as you go down the list, the things that are in parentheses on the right mean there is a underspending of the budget. Numbers that are without parentheses are overspent for the year. So primarily under staff costs, like 3/4 of the way down, we were underspent $18,900, primarily due to the use of supply pastors for about a month and a half toward the end of the year. You turn the page, see some of the other expenses. Under property, we had no snow in 2023, so we have $4,000 in unused snow plowing expenses there at the top. And you can look down for yourself what some of the other items are, where we were underspent or overspent. We had $1,200 for Vacation Bible School. We didn't have Vacation Bible School. We have $1,000 for youth ministry. We didn't, basically we're not move forward with that for various reasons this year. So the bottom line, just go down to the second last line on the right. For the year, we were underspent $28,335 against the budget that was in effect established at the start of the year. So you jump down to the last line there, number is 40,818. That's our surplus for the year. That's due to two factors. First, income greater than expected by 12,488, and expenses less than budgeted by 28,335. So we have a surplus of 40,818. So which is, good. But I think we would all agree that if we spent more money, we had a little less surplus, and we had did some things maybe with youth program or Vacation Bible School, we'd all still be happy. So having a surplus is a lot better than not having one, but there are things we could be doing as we come out of COVID. A lot of it is related to the COVID situation. So I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, my assistant will answer them.
Not always sure who the assistant is here, but it's a...
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Carol, I believe we have a motion. This is complete section 1 of our report, which is supposed to be a look back at 2023. So, Carolyn?
I move to accept section 1 of the 2023 annual report.
Do we have a... Let me finish, Gary, please. No. Gary Gregg has seconded this. Any discussion about section 1? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No? Okay, good. Motion carries. Okay, now we move on to section 2. Section 2. First item is we have our council is composed of 12 members. These are 3 class of 4. In this case, the class of 2023 has completed their term of service, and they've all agreed to re-up. They're incumbents. So we have a motion from Fred Newman.
I move to nominate the following members of St. Paul's Lutheran Church for election to the Congregational Council. This is class 2026. Dan Egan, Glenn Rentschler, Bonnie Stanley, and Tom Vandesand.
We have a second? Second. Who said that? Ken. Okay, Ken Branson is our second. Any discussion about this? Questions, comments? Now, given that these are incumbents and we have no additional nominations, we don't need to have a paper ballot. We can authorize the secretary to cast a unanimous ballot. I entertain a motion to allow the secretary to cast that ballot. Have a second for that? Sorry, motion, sorry. Who will move that? Somebody say, okay. Who said that? Ken's going to move that. Do we have a second? Okay. Gary seconds. All in favor? Aye. All right. The secretary will then cast a ballot, unanimous ballot in favor of these candidates. So these was our new class of 2026. So that's Dan, Glenn, Tom, and Bonnie are the class of 2026 of the council. Second issue is every year we send 2 voting members to the New Jersey Synod meeting. This year we have a motion from Ieska.
I nominated the following members of St. Paul Lutheran Church for election as lay voting members of the New Jersey Synod Assembly 2024. Carol Larson and Paul Nenheiser.
We have a second? Phil second? Okay, Phil raised hand and, okay, we'll do Phil. Okay, it's fine, okay. Any discussion about that? Any nominees for the positions? Again, as there are no other nominees, we can entertain a motion to have the Secretary cast a unanimous ballot in that favor. So everybody in favor of that? So sorry, somebody move that, please. Gary's going to move that motion. Second? Aye. This case up. Sorry, Ken. Karen beat you. Only one. You get one shot. 1 second. That's it. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So our secretary will cast a unanimous ballot in favor of those two candidates. Moving along, we have our presentation of our 2024 income and expense budget. This is probably Glenn, assisted by Sharon or vice versa.
If you turn to your proposed budget, the budget process was a lengthy one and a thoughtful one. It basically started with Karen Klingeman, chairman of the Finance Committee, in September, October, communicating with the committees, telling them where they stand for the year on their budgets, and giving them an opportunity to revise them for the 2024 year. And that in parallel, the Stewardship Committee was working with the congregation to try to determine what kind of income we might have to work with. And then Sharon Lachard started her magic of fine-tuning the budgets once those numbers came in, both on the mostly on the expense side, but then on the income side, when we get the budgeted income numbers, there are other numbers that you see there on the income side that initial offering and Easter and things like that we don't really have any firm numbers on. So Sharon uses historic data to try to determine what those income numbers might be. So and then she really works it over quite thoroughly as the number of pledges come in throughout the pledging time to come up with a final budget. So I'll turn it over to her, and then she can get into the nitty-gritty details of that.
So I assume everybody has the proposed 2024 budget, also known as the income and spending plan, in front of them. It's at the end of the annual report on the green pages, labeled Roman numerals 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. There are 4 columns of data. They are, from left to right, the budget for 2023, which was approved at the Congregation annual meeting last year. 2023 actual results. These amounts agree with the reports at the end of section 1 that were presented earlier. The third column is the variance between the 2023 budget and the 2023 actual. The fourth column is the proposed 2024 budget that we'll be voting on shortly. And the final column is a variance column between the 2023 budget and the proposed 2024 budget. The 2024 proposed budget is a break-even budget, meaning that total income is equal to total expenses. On the income side, the proposed income amount for 2024 is $386,000. You can see that in the fourth column, about 1/3 down the page, total income, $386,000. It's made up of the following. The largest number is under income from giving, regular giving. In this section, This item is budgeted for $335,500 for 2024. This line, together with the line a little bit further down the page, transfer from prepaid pledge fund, is $33,500. Those two amounts together total $369,000. Normally, this total will be shown all together under regular giving. However, because there were amounts pledged for 2024 that were received by St. Paul in 2023, the prepaid pledge fund was established to hold these amounts. The amounts will be transferred into the operating fund each month throughout the year. This is where our pledges come in. To date, we have 72 pledges to support the 369 for a total of $336,868. That's shown on in the stewardship report that Skip just spoke of. The other component to this line item is non-pledged giving, which is budgeted to be approximately $32,000 for this year. The remaining line items under income from giving, plate all the way down to miscellaneous income, in total are budgeted to be $17,000 for 2024. This is consistent in total with the 2023 budget line items. On the expense side, you see also on the bottom of page Roman numeral 2.2-4 that the total expenses is $386,000. Some of the things that the proposed budget includes are a $1,200 increase in mission support to the New Jersey Synod and the ELCA. That's the first line. Again, as historically has been done, it's the first line item in our budget. The pastor line items this year are in agreement with the contract that was entered into with Pastor Dan that was approved by the Congregation Council. The proposed budget allows for a 3% increase for the music staff as well as the church secretary and sexton. Under support staff, the proposed budget includes an amount for a nursery sitter if the hiring of one is approved by the council, as well as provides funding for our AV crew members, which was approved by the council in 2023. There are some small increases in the office operation line items based on actual results. The remaining sections of the budget are based upon the related committees' budget requests that were submitted in the fall, which were reviewed by the Finance Committee and ultimately signed off on by the Congregation Council. A few items I'd like to highlight. Under property, the property insurance line reflects a $3,500 budget increase from 2023. This is due to the sudden decision of the then carrier in early 2023 to no longer cover religious organizations. St. Paul was unfortunately in a position where we had a very short period of time to look for a new company to provide coverage. The budget for 2024 is based upon what the actual new premium was for the current policy period. It is the hope of the council that the actual premium for the next policy period will be lower than the budget amount. Under worship and music, there's a significant decrease in the bell choir line. As Carolyn mentioned in her report, the bells were refurbished in 2023, and therefore the budget was much higher last year than typically needed for that line item. And one final line item to highlight is under evangelism. At this time, and it's unknown what the cost of the Living Lutheran will be going forward. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the organization suspended its print version at the end of 2023. And as they transition to a fully online platform, it is anticipated that the cost will be lower than the past subscription price, but it is unknown to us at this time. Any questions that I can answer or pawn off onto the treasurer or other member of council? No questions.
We have one.
Yes.
We're waiting for that. We knew that was coming.
I answered your question. Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
I think it's end of December, I think. It's 2 years plus 30 months. I think it's the end of 2025, right, Dan? Yeah, it's the 25-month contract.
This really isn't a budget question, but it's like a financial question about switching over pastors, I guess. So we're contracted through the end of 25, so does that mean we wouldn't get regular pastor until January 26th?
The question is, would this shut Dan's contract prevent us from calling a pastor? The answer is no. Dan can leave if he chooses, and he could leave at whatever the time comes. We have a new pastor, Dan will go. He's not going to dig his heels in and stick around, right, Dan? He's not saying no. I'm a little worried now. Exactly, yeah. Right. Yeah, and also, if we don't find someone in time, Dan could renew it as well, extend if you were to so choose. So, it is flexible in that regard.
Unless something radical happens, you got me for at least a year.
Yeah. No further questions for committee? Ken, you have a motion? And not the one you riffed on. I want the one you were given, okay?
Yeah, when he asked me to do this, I told Stan he was taking a chance because I might go rogue. I move to adopt the 2024 income statement and budget.
Do I have a second? Nancy. Any discussion, further discussion about the proposal? This does require a paper ballot, so I have ballots here if I would hand these out to people. If you need a pencil, we have pencils. And I would ask our tellers, which will be Neil and Julie, then we'll come back and do it. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay, great. Give him half the, oh, sorry, Diane took them, okay. All right. Actually, Neil take all the pencils, and Diane's doing the paper, so yeah. give me all the pencils.
All right.
If anybody needs a pencil. Options are yes or no. Abstain is an option as well. Yes, no, or abstain. Please only vote once. Only once. Yes, right. No, you're going to do the baskets. Okay, Julie, here. You want to go collect them? I've got.
I'm collecting them back.
Okay, it's good. Yeah. Let's see. Diane, I have one for you here, Dan, if you want this one. Well, either way is okay. Yep, it's fine. That's yours, okay. Here. All right. Oh yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Your pencil. I think I saw a pencil in here. You got that pencil? Okay, if you don't mind, you would count those, please. Sure. You and Julie would count them. Julie, you and why don't you go back to the sacristy if you could, and count those and get back to us. You got, oh yeah, need a ballot too. Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, while they count the ballots, I do have a motion from Tom Vandesand.
I move to authorize the Congregation Council to review and approve the minutes of the 2024 annual meeting. The Secretary shall post a copy of the approved minutes on the bulletin board in the narthex, include them in next year's annual report, and file with the office secretary a copy that will be available for review by any member of the congregation.
Do we have a second? Okay. Karen Galley, second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Again, they're still counting. In terms of, I'm not aware of any old or unfinished business, but I thought in new business I would talk a little bit about what's coming in the next year, which I know Dan can add to this too. Obviously, one of our priorities now is we have to begin the process to call a new pastor. This is a very lengthy process. It is actually 10 steps as determined by the Synod in a document called the Guide to Procedure and Practice for the Pastoral Call Process. We have just finished step 2. Step 1 is the pastor notifies the council and the congregation, which he did way back a year ago, notifies the Synod as well. There is then we had Tracy Bartholomew, Bishop, met with us to discuss what we have to go through with this. She also acquired for us, we had supply pastors, and we also had our pastor, interim pastor, Pastor Whitener. We now have to begin what is step 3, which is the mission exploration process. This is a very lengthy process of surveys and other analysis. We have to understand the demographics of our community we serve, demographics of our congregation, in terms of our breakdown by gender and race, ethnicity, all these things, understand who we are, so we understand, and the Synod understands that too. Now, this could take, there is a series of surveys which we will be meeting with Tracy Bartholomew, and she is our call process administrator appointed by the Synod. She may delegate that to someone else, but she is nominally our call process administrator. And we'll define more detail about what we have to go through to do this. There is a 11-page questionnaire we complete called the Ministry Site Profile, which is submitted to the ELCA. It is basically our job posting. Goes to ELCA, where it's available to all the rostered members of the ELCA. At that point, people will view our job hunt, our job posting, and they'll apply, not to us. They apply to the Synod. The Synod will make that assessment, and they will send us. Well, in the meantime, we also appoint a call committee, which is right now, according to Constitution, 6 people who would evaluate any application received versus our requirements. We get candidates one at a time by the Synod. The Synod makes the first assessment, send it to our call committee, and they say yes or no. If they say no, it goes back to the Synod for another candidate. This repeats until the call committee is satisfied. Once they're satisfied, it goes to the council. Same process occurs. If it's a go, we keep going. If we don't like it, it goes back to the Synod again. It's back and forth. If the call committee approves, the council, then we can call a special meeting. The council, this candidate is presented to all of you, and we vote yes or no. And if we approve, then that person is our new pastor. If not, the process begins. It could be a lengthy process. It is available to anybody from all the country can apply to this. It could be someone from California, Oregon, it could be next door. We don't know. It depends on what we look for and and who's available. There is a shortage of pastors. As I mentioned, that 25% of the synods, the churches in our synod don't have full-time pastors. Now, this is a very attractive church to go to. We are active. We are generous. Any pastor would want to come here. I mean, I certainly hope so. I think so. I think that's the case. I think we are a very attractive church because we are, again, we are thriving, and not every church can make that statement. So this is going to take a long time, and the process is delayed because it's a back and forth one at a time. If anybody ever hired anybody, you get a stack of resumes, you pick through the ones you want, you interview them. Not like that. It's one at a time. So you go all the way down, step, 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 start again, step. That's how it's going to work. So that's the process we go through. So we'll begin, once our new council is constituted, which will be in a week or so, we'll have to begin. I think we're going to gather, we'll talk to Bishop Bartholomew about the process and the surveys we need, and we'll begin doing the analysis. End result, hopefully, it could take a year or two or longer. We don't know yet. It depends on who's out there and what we look for. I think, look, I remember talking to Skip Cox about this when Pastor Egan first joined the church 45 years ago. He was, what, 29 years old with a young family? And now he's 75 years old. Well, and when he joined, he attracted other young families with children who same kind of interest in lifestyles. Well, we have to discover that again. What do we want to do to make sure our church continue to grow? We'll be here 20, 30, 40 years from now. It's a real challenge. We could probably easily find a 75-year-old pastor, we one or two, but is that going to serve our needs in the future? So it's going to be a discovery process. It's going to be challenging, and it's going to be extremely exciting. And we should look forward to this process. It's going to be I think a challenge. It's going to be a very interesting couple of years to go through this. Fortunately, we have Pastor Whitener with us as well, who's gone through this. He was an interim before, right? That's your last church, right? As interim, yeah. Yeah. Not to mention the fact he has connection with the bishop, which is definitely to our advantage as well. So. So any questions about the process here? Okay, go ahead.
Who puts together the call committee for the church?
The council will make a decision on who the call members will be, with plenty of input from people here as well. Need to have I would have a very good cross section of the congregation, old, young, single. I mean, all this different. We'll have to see what that is. We have to look at it. I think what the call committee should reflect our congregation. Not necessarily what it is and what it wants to be as well, which is the tricky part. So, no, Paul?
Steve said it was like a 10-step process.
Yeah.
We're coming up to step 3, which is the mission exploration.
Yes, right.
Well, what are all the other steps? Are all the other steps those things that you outlined where?
Actually, I'll read them. They're pretty quick. Number one is what to do when your pastor resigns. That's been done. Number two, initial meeting with council. The bishop came to see us. Number three is mission exploration process. We're going to be beginning that process. Number four, we appoint the committee. Number five, meet with the bishop, who then explains the actual call process. Number six, the pastoral call committee preparation, how they get ready to evaluate the candidates. Pastoral call committee activity. Again, the bishop is going to be submitting candidates to us. They'll begin reviewing those candidates. Number 8 is we meet with a candidate. Now, in the old days, you might go and travel and go visit a church. I think when Pastor Egan was called, didn't people go down to the shore, right? Yeah. Yes.
On a snowy Sunday morning.
And I think you outnumbered the people there, right? As I recall, yeah. Now. Yes, right. Yeah. Now anymore though, it may very well be you look at a YouTube thing. We don't know yet. It depends where the person. It could be in Oregon or something. We'll do YouTube. We're not gonna fund you traveling to Las Vegas to watch a pastor. It's not gonna happen. So if you want to do it on your own, that's fine. But otherwise, we're gonna watch YouTube instead. So yeah, always YouTube. Yeah. So the candidate will meet or discuss. We'll interview by our call committee. If they approve, we go to the council, then to the congregation. Step 9, we have a special meeting of the congregation as a whole, and the pastor he'll probably preach. Remember when Lydia came? If you remember her, she was a kind of a semi kind of call for her. But the candidate will come, will preach, and we'll have a meeting, and we will say yes or no to that candidate. And then step 10 is we issue the call, the actual call process. Now, the interesting old thing is this person could be traveling across the country. We have to think about how we're going to cover their expenses. Fortunately, we have the resources to do that kind of. We have a fund set aside to help with a mortgage. We also have other funds set aside to help them with the moving expense. We don't know yet, but we are better prepared than many congregations because we do have money set aside. We've done again, the people who did this job in the years past did a tremendous job really planning for the future. We have all these funds set aside to make sure that if things go wrong, we could take it. We have emergency funds we have a fund to cover a full month of expense. We have lots of money for this purpose. So we won't be caught by surprise. So again, a real tribute to people went by in years past who did this. They really set us up well. And we were a model to be, I think, valued by everybody, I think. So that's the 10 steps. So, and it'll be very transparent. We'll make sure everyone is well aware of the process that goes along. So, and expect to have a lot of questions asked from you about, not only who you are and what you want, because that's what's going to determine our candidate for the future. Do we have a result for our, sorry, Tom, go ahead, question?
The congregation is only going to have contact with this candidate one time. Is that correct?
Well, the answer is probably yes. You can watch on YouTube as long as you want, but yeah, it's going to be one. It'll already be going through the people. Yes, it is. But you'll have one face-to-face meeting with that person as they come in. Presumably they come in here and actually will meet with us and preach and spend the day with us. So, go ahead, please do. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, we could bring them in early, for example, have a series of meetings. We could do all they want to do to find the right candidate. So once they get past the council meeting, for example, then we'll make sure the person's available to everybody who's interested. So, sorry, question over here?
Right, so you mentioned the 10 steps and that we're moving on to step 3. You mentioned filling out some kind of paperwork, survey, whatever. Could this be like a file online that we can look at to see? I don't know how much of it we can actually see or I think we should be able to. But like the survey book, the questions, what's the answers, where are we in the process? And then when we get down to the final end, I don't know if you actually said, do we as a congregation vote on the candidate?
The final one, absolutely. Oh, yes. The congregation will determine yes or no in the end. Let's go through the call committee, through the council. The final word is with all of you. Nope. It's a majority plus one, but basically the majority vote. So now, if it's that close, the answer should probably be no. I mean, if this person is going to be 51 to 49, it's probably not the right candidate, quite honestly.
I'm not a canon lawyer, but I think sometimes congregations require 2/3.
I don't know what the rule is. I'm sure there's a guideline for that. Yeah, I think you're right. It might be 2/3. So. Yeah. I do have this is the report actually from the Synod about how to do this. I'm sure it's in here. I'll take a look at that as well. There's also, I mentioned, an 11-page survey. We'll do a lot more surveys. We'll do a lot of things online, make sure they're available. We want to make sure we get everybody's input, though. That's going to be the challenge, getting everybody, even those people who may not be so involved, because we need them as well. So, you raising hand or keeping the sun out? The sun? Phil, you raised your hand, though, right, Phil? Well, we will be transparent. We do have to adhere to the Synod. The Synod has a policy. We have to adhere to their policy. So, but yeah, don't worry. Everything we do here is transparent. As mentioned earlier, I was looking at another church's annual report. Nothing like ours in terms of detail. We are very transparent compared to other churches, and we'll be very transparent in this area as well. There'll be no secrets. Again, we only get to see one person at a time, so it's not like we could look at 10 people and say, I like number 7. We'll have discarded 6 to get there, so that'll be the challenge.
This is the.
Yeah, it does require 2/3 majority, the final vote, 2/3 majority. Yeah. All right, this is actually chapter 9 of this manual. Authority to call pastors shall be in the congregation. Shall be in the congregation by at least a 2/3 majority ballot of members present. at a meeting called for this purpose. Before us called issued officers committee shall seek the advice and help of the bishop. So it is a 2/3, so it won't be a 51 to 49, it'll be a majority thing. Carol? Fred.
I just wanted to say I've been through this in the past, and the rules have been established over a long period of time. They are based on producing a pretty strong mandate for any new pastor. That's why the 2/3 vote. So anyone who's concerned about openness and all that, those areas will be handled. So everyone will be confident about their vote when the time comes for them to vote.
Yeah, we'll have biographies passed around. Again, we'll know where the person is located. You can go to watch them preach. You go to the church's website. There's plenty. It's not like it was 20 years ago. You can find a lot of stuff out of a person now that you couldn't do certainly when Pastor Egan was looking for a job. So, any questions about the process again? I want to report, though, the budget passed by a vote of 46-0. So our budget is passed. So thank you for that. Any further questions, comments? Oh, one more. Go ahead. Please do. Yeah, come in the microphone, please.
As a member of the Christian Education Committee and as a long-term member of the congregation, I listened to Gay and Jim Egan talking about visiting churches that have no children, no Sunday school, no VBS, and I'm very concerned that we keep up our strong program. Unfortunately, before COVID, we lost our strong leadership. It wasn't just before COVID, but we had strong leadership in VBS, and that leadership has moved away from the congregation, the job move, and then COVID came and we had no VBS. Now we have no leadership. I am aware of a program through Crossroads Camp that does bring in a staff of counselors. We do have to, our responsibility is to put them up in a home, for the week. It's a full-time program from 9 to 3, so it's basically could be considered for some certain families, a daycare, summer daycare for a week. It is expensive. It's about $115 per child, but they provide the entire program at our church. And I'm not suggesting it for this coming summer, but I'm aware, I got the full information from the camp, and I'm aware that they start booking already in the fall for the following year. So I just want to put it in people's ears. I think if we do this, it should not all be coming from the Education Committee's budget. I think we could even get people to give a gift of $100 or campership or something like that. There are maybe special funds that have been in the undesignated funds where we could get some money for this program. But to me, youth is the future of the church. We see many churches that are dying because the congregation they're dying. They're getting old. And without the children to support the new generation, there is going to be no church in the future. So I just want to put this in everybody's ears now, so if it comes up again and I start getting a little pushy about it, and I hope I get some other people on my side or on my supporters to help me, I would definitely be volunteering to coordinate this program, but it does need funding. So, and I'm talking about 2025.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Any more questions or comments? Oh, sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
The 2023 attendance.
Yes.
The early, late, and then in-person supposed to be a total. That in-person total is wrong in like 6 months. So somebody should check that.
Which is wrong?
Page 10.
Okay.
2023 attendance. Early, late, and then in-person is supposed to be a total of early and late. It's off in like 6 months.
It should be including the YouTube live as well, though. The total one?
No. The one it says on the bottom is early plus late equals in-person.
All right.
And it's wrong.
Okay, I'll take a little reissue that. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. Anything else? If not, Dan, we close the prayer, and then Gary has a motion at the end to close us out. So he can't wait. He's been waiting for this for the whole meeting, right?
Closing prayers. Everybody stand up. Doxology.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Back then. Gary.
I move to adjourn the 2024 annual meeting.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No brave people? Thank you very much. Thank you.